We thank you so much for watching Law School Made Easy at Law School Made Easy 256. Today we want to go to family law and we want to look at the dissolution of marriage, but in particular we are going to discuss the grounds for divorce, meaning that we are going to discuss Section 4 of the Divorce Act. But of course, I'll give you a very brief background about the grounds for divorce, such that you can appreciate where we are, why we are at Section 4 of the Divorce Act, because previously we only had the 3 grounds of divorce. But if you now read Section 4 of the Divorce Act, there are many other grounds which have been adopted following that case of or law advocacy versus AG Women for Law Advocacy versus Attorney General, where many of these provisions were actually being challenged. But before even going to that, we want to ask you to subscribe and share and keep liking our videos. Don't watch minus liking or sharing or even subscribing. Don't watch especially subscribing and liking our videos. We ask you to like them. Then also, we want to again inform you that we are running 2 channels. We have Law School Made Easy and also Voices of the Bar. We ask you for all your legal material knowledge to subscribe to these channels, Law School Made Easy and Voices of the Bar. Where you find a video is not on Law School Made Easy, kindly go and check on Voices of the Bar. If it is not on Voices of the Bar, it is on Law School Made Easy. So now let's go to what we wanted to discuss today, the grounds for divorce. There was gross inequality, inefficiency when applying divorce previously, that one, especially a woman, had to prove all the 3 grounds of divorce. The 3 grounds of divorce, ground for divorce, we actually mean that these are things that you put up as you seek for the dissolution of marriage. If you want to bring your marriage at an end, remember in our lessons in family law, we started in the previous episodes with forming a marriage, understanding what is a marriage. We appreciated what a marriage is, but now time comes when marriage suffocates. Much as we say courts do not allow divorce, even those who believe in the Holy Quran and the Holy Bible, you all know that divorce is the last option that is in there. No one wants, but marriage tends to suck people and they want to run away from marriage. They want to leave marriage. Now, you don't just wake up and say, I want to go. There must be reasons that you're going to give why you want to go. So those reasons you're giving court that, look here, this marriage is stinking, I want to leave this marriage. There are those things you must do. There are reasons you give court reason why you want to run away. And those reasons you give court is what we call grounds for divorce. There used to be 3. And the main grounds for divorce are adultery. You must show signs of adultery. You must prove cruelty. You must prove desertion. These were the 3. And you had to prove all of them, which was discriminatory to the women. And now this explains the emergence of judicial separation and others, as we shall look in our coming videos. Now, because you had to prove this, it was very hard. Now, when a case was lodged, court observed that there was inequality in enforcing the grounds for divorce. And now other grounds like bigamy, rape, sodomizing, bestiality were now brought up as grounds for divorce. So let's discuss one by one. Adultery. Now, for you to bring out a ground for divorce, you must prove adultery. You must prove that my husband is philandering, is womanizing with other women. You must have proof. This is not, adultery is not going to be proved by mere saying, my husband is doing ABCD. It cannot be done that way. You must prove that there was adultery. Look out for that case of Mayambara versus Mayambara. It's going to give you a very clear picture that Mrs. Mayambara was citing adultery. In some of her evidence, if you go deep into the case, she's discussing another baby being born. A man bringing a child from another woman into their marriage, which was her child. Sorry, the man's child. So meaning that the man had committed adultery elsewhere and even got an issue there, which is the child who she brought. So Mrs. Mayambara was even citing adultery. And no wonder the case succeeded, simply because there was enough evidence to show adultery. You don't wake up and say, there is adultery. I feel in my heart my husband is cheating on me. That is BS, bullshit. Courts do not operate on hearsay. Courts don't operate on hearsay. Courts want proof. You are the one who is alleging proof. You're saying adultery. What shows there is adultery here? And then you begin to prove your adultery. Okay? Then another instance for ground for divorce, another point is cruelty. Cruelty. Still in the case of Mayambara, cruelty was defined. Inflicting pain on your body, causing harm to your limbs. Cruelty has now extended even to emotional, treating somebody and then they get emotional damage. Okay? So all those acts of cruelty, for example, coming back home, you don't talk to your wife, you don't do what, you maybe abuse them, you put them in that fear. That is what we mean cruelty. So I ask you to read the case of Bariamureba, V. Bariamureba, and also the case of Mayambara. You see how cruelty has been brought forward. But one of them include physical beating. Like in the case of Mayambara, would come back drunk and beat the woman. On several occasions, the woman in Mayambara, Mrs. Mayambara, presented police files. He had reported the cases, the files, references. On several occasions, he had taken him to police for inflicting pain, beating her. So he had turned the woman into being a drum. So you also must prove that bit of cruelty. But do not only focus on cruelty as beating. Yes, beating is cruelty. Fighting your woman, beating them. Even women beat men. I have seen the previous days on TV. There was a man saying, you know. So you pack all those things and then you come and say that, look here, this woman is beating me. So you must prove the case of Mayambara, and I think Mariamureba is locus classicus in that area. Of course, there are many cases we can put here. Then we have another very important is desertion. Desertion. That you have to prove. If you say one of the ground is desertion, you must prove. If your husband takes leave without official notification of you and leaves you with the children, you are married, he goes for a period of 2 years without hearing from him, it is possible he has deserted you. Then there you can add desertion. But again, there are things which really back up desertion. For example, we have spent 1 year minus having sex. Sex is cardinal in a relationship, in a marriage. As we shall look at the judicial separation, decree nisi, some of the things that end a decree nisi and judicial separation is SI. The moment you have sexual intercourse, when we are in the process of a decree nisi, then you can't get a divorce. You people have come back together. Now, a situation where you go 1 year and a half, 2 years, minus seeing your husband, even when he's around colleagues, that is desertion. He has deserted you because that cannot happen. So the moment you prove the 2 years of not helping you financially, not taking care of the children, when then that way desertion will stand. But there are instances when you are in desertion, but you know your husband requested you, he's going to work. He spends 3 years there. You don't come and say he's in desertion. In any case, you're talking. You know where he went. He's out of the country for 3 years. That could not amount to desertion. But where you don't know, where you know and you have agreed, it can't amount to desertion because you are a party to that. You have agreed to it. But the moment he just runs away, he leaves you, no communication, no assistance given, no what, colleagues, it is possible that one is what we call desertion. So there used to be 3, and you would have to prove all of them. But today, in under section ground 4, all those are in ground 4, section 4 of the Divorce Act. If you look at section 4 of the Divorce Act now, one of the other grounds for divorce is change of religion. That you can cite this as a ground for divorce. Now look here, I am a very strong Catholic and this man has become a Muslim. We cannot be together. So that one can also stand as a ground for divorce. Look at that case of Thacker versus Thacker. Thacker versus Thacker cuts across. It works on cruelty, it works on adultery and desertion, and also on change of religion. That this was an Indian couple, Thacker v. Thacker. It was an Indian couple who now came to Uganda and they lived together in Bokoto. But after some time, this man would go to a church, that's I think Prayer Mountain, along Kanyanya Road, and there he met a woman called Piripiri. So he stopped, he deserted his family, even changed his religion from being Indian, faith-believing Hindu belief, and then now turned to Christianity. So, and of course, the adultery with the other, they called Piribiri, was also not okay with the woman, and therefore she filed the grounds for divorce, and those are the grounds she put in, and that case succeeded. So, change of religion, now it is very important. Then another ground for divorce is now rape. Rape. Of course, rape is when without consent. You do whatever you do without the consent of your spouse. So the moment you rape what you others want to call marital rape, constantly rape your wife without her consent, so therefore that can stand as a ground of divorce. And on several occasions, you never consented to this. But of course, there are challenges about this. There are very many challenges about this. But for in the law that we have, it is put there. Then there is sodomizing, that is homosexuality and bestiality. If you are married and then bestiality means having sex with an animal, climbing, mounting an animal. If you are married and your wife fears that you mounted an animal, then it can be a ground, because it means you have become inhuman. You can no longer live with people. So bestiality also stands out as a very serious case of a ground for divorce. Then we have bigamy. Bigamy, when you're married, you again remarry, or you try to remarry another person, then that can be a ground for divorce. We don't have a better example than the example of the pastor Bujingo in that area where which you can ably give, that he was married to Teddy, but their attempts, they were cultural marriages organized to marry Susan Makura. So that is what we call bigamy. We thank you so much for your community. 256, subscribe, share, like our videos. Thank you.